So, as I said, Tracy's head of the California Parents Union. She really wants to talk about like parental rights type stuff. Meaning, there's homeschooling. There's all of this gender affirming care crap that's going on, and
Well, where do you want me to start?
Well, I mean, just go ahead and shoot whatever.
So, I mean, I'll just strongly yes for parental rights. Is the sort of starting point on everything from the forced vaccinations during the pandemic, which was so infuriating and totally outrageous, given that there was no justification for that whatsoever on any kind of medical or public health grounds. We can get into the details of that, but that's an example of how they've just taken away parents' rights. Obviously, just so that everyone is clear, I'm a parent. I've never believed that you have to be a parent in order to be in favor of parents' rights, but I happen to be a parent of two teenage boys, and I just think that the way that these Democrats and the left generally increasingly see education as part of a political project. You can trace it right back to I remember did a whole piece on this when I hosted my Fox News show, The Origins of Wokeism. And you take it right back to over 100 years ago, the Marxists in the Frankfurt School, and they were trying to figure out why the Marxist revolution hadn't taken hold everywhere, just as Marx had predicted. The logic of capitalism would make these capitalist systems collapse, and they had this view that actually it's all these other institutions, non-economic ones, that were perpetuating the system that they didn't like, the bourgeoisie and all the rest of it, and capitalism, and chief among them was the family, and so there's a real intellectual heritage to this. It's not come out of nowhere. For over a century, they've been pushing forward this idea that the family stands in the way of their political project, and now you're seeing that come to fruition, and you see it right here in California, and you see it in so many different ways. The opposition to any kind of movement towards school choice, including Gavin Newsom refusing to participate in this new federal school choice program that the One Big Beautiful Bill introduced, etc. I mean, we can go on and on. I've long been an advocate for school choice, which is obviously one aspect of parental rights, and we can get into the policy areas of that. I think it's going to be very difficult to introduce that as governor. I'll certainly do my best to move in that direction. Charter schools are probably the best, immediate and deliverable step in that direction. And actually, that whole idea of putting power in people's hands has been really the through line of my work, pretty much all my career. From the businesses that I've started to the books I've written, the policy and the policy priorities I've had and the way I've tried to implement them, whether I was working back in the day in the UK government or here in California. How do you get more power in people's hands? How do you decentralize power from centralized bureaucracies and put them directly in the hands of people? Parents' rights are a huge part of that. Just quickly on gender affirming care, there's something so insidious about that phrase.
Right.
And I think we have to just not accept that phrase. I mean, it's just so Orwellian. And I think one of the simplest ways of capturing it is, imagine if we applied that in other areas of health care, right? And you go to cancer affirming care or whatever. It's like, imagine you go to the doctor and the expectation is that the doctor affirms what you say, right? That you go in there's I think I've got this problem, whatever, and we're insisting that the doctor affirms what you think, rather than giving you a professional clinical judgment. It's ridiculous, completely ridiculous. And that was the sort of basis of, I think, the most thorough investigation into all of this, which was actually done, ironically enough, by the healthcare system that the left completely reveres, which is the UK National Health Service, where they did a 2-year study, the Cass review, Hilary Cass, who did a deep investigation into all of this in the UK, and came to the conclusion that that it was totally unacceptable, should be completely banished from the healthcare system, that children should not be treated this way, that actually the role of medical professionals should be to, if a child comes in and whatever, presents with gender dysphoria, whatever, then you treat it as a mental health issue that needs to be handled sensitively, compassionately, all of those things. But you absolutely don't affirm what they say. And you certainly don't go toward any at all towards irreversible altering of your body. And so the UK National Health Service, the social, the dream for Bernie Sanders and AOC, what they want to see here, single payer, they've banned it in the UK. So,
right.
Sorry, long answer, but very important subjects.
It's okay. Because California is directly attacking the family unit with laws that they're passing. Like, if a child presents that they believe that they're of the other gender, they actually made it illegal for teachers to tell the parents. It's
disgusting. It's completely disgusting. And you just think, what on earth? How have we even gotten to this point? It's so crazy. I mean, I remember the first time I really saw how evil this was and how cynical and insidious, and all these kinds of words I think are appropriate. I remember many years ago on my podcast, I had a conversation with Harmeet Dillon, long before she was in the Justice Department, as she is now, doing a great job for the president. And she had a case from her legal, organization took on a case for a girl that had, had irreversible surgery as a direct result of one of these gender clinics that were run in the school. And I remember Harmeet telling me that the most sick thing about this was that it was all pushed by the teacher unions, and there was information that was sent from the teacher union head, the California Teachers Association, whatever it was. Maybe it was one of the other teacher unions, so I'm not saying it was them, but a teacher union in California distributed materials to their schools, to their members in the schools, explicitly saying that you should run these gender workshops and gender clinics for children, and you should do it in the lunch break, because if you did it after school, the parents would have to be told, because they're not being, they're being picked up an hour later, whatever. So they're literally being told to hide it.
Right. It's a direct attack on the family
and that's what initiates it. So they push it with these workshops that they set up, and then they hide it from the parents. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
that this is where we are.
It's insidious. And then there's, sort of my wheelhouse. I'm a distance runner, cross country coach, and I grew up playing sports, and I was coaching cross country with another teacher in the San Lorenzo Valley School District here. I won't say her name, put her on blast, but I was told when I first came in that, hey, you might have a they, them on your team. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And they were like, well, you might have like a boy that identifies as a girl. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do this then. I'm not going to coach. I'm doing this for free anyway. And you get the counter argument to that is always, oh, well, there's so few biological boys that identify as girls and want to compete that it's not that big of a deal. No, it's a huge deal.
It's a huge deal
because you have, it's so few boys that are going to dominate all of the other girls.
But it's happening I keep hearing this, and they used to say this, a couple of years ago, it was really exploding as an issue, and say, there were 9 in the whole country. They had some bullshit, stat. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Oh, you could say whatever you want.
Stat like that they used to kind of wheel out. And then you say, well, why is it then that there was, almost every week there's a story from somewhere of one of these things happening? If it's just 9 people in the house, it's ridiculous. And you've got girls now in California, very common story, that girls are changing in cars because they don't want to use the changing rooms, because you've got boys, biological boys going in the changing rooms, all of these things. It's just extraordinary that we've, and the people who've let this happen, not just let it happen, encouraged it, and still defend it to this day, are these people who just this week, we saw it from the insane press conference with Gavin Newsom and his wife going on about the war on women, accusing the Republicans of President Trump of the war on women. And they are the ones pushing this. It's absolutely, and nobody pushes back. And it's amazing that no one calls them on that point. So how dare you position yourselves as the champions of women and gender equality and women's rights when you're letting this happen?
Right. And this is just, the tip of the iceberg. Again, we could do a whole episode just on this.
Can I just say one thing? It's very important. I I'm very happy to talk about all these things and comment on them, but I also do want to say, this is what I will do about it, because I'm a candidate now, not a commentator, and I've thought very hard about this, and just specifically on this issue of the the boys, and girls' sports, locker rooms, all that. So that goes back to a law that was passed in 2013 in California. It's been a long time with us now, AB 1266. And so that is the law in California. And so to undo that, that's going to take some work. But I've done the work to figure out how we do that. And in fact, on my team, I've got one of Governor Wilson's top lawyers, and we've been working through many of these issues. And the governor has the power to initiate the overturning of a law that violates the state constitution. And so you've got to find grounds to overturn these laws, and then you can do it. And by the way, you can do it even if the Attorney General is from another party. You can instruct them to do that. And I'm hoping, of course, that the Attorney General will be my running mate, Michael Gates. I'm putting together a team. We can perhaps get into that later, which has never been done before by anyone running for governor. But so I'm planning to have with me a strong ally in all of these matters. But still, what you can do is overturn. You can begin the process of overturning a law that violates the state constitution. This particular one on biological boys and girls sports and so on, we think it violates the constitution in two different places. I think it's section 28, which is safety. It's safety of girls. It's the guarantee of safety in schools, and of course there are girls who have been injured as a result of these practices. Right. And then I think it's section 31, which is about gender discrimination, and obviously this discriminates against girls because they're being denied their opportunities. So we think we've got very strong and clear grounds to overturn this, and that's what I will do as governor on day one. That is a day one thing to begin that process.